You know, I got 98% of what I wanted. I'm pretty happy.
Well, the sequester deadline is here, and judging by the comments you just heard, we appear to be almost as far from a deal as we were 18 months ago. And that means across-the-board budget cuts, all about to take effect, impacting the military, hundreds of other programs, and millions of federal workers. They face up to 22 furlough days over the next 7 months, and just like the American public in general, Bruce LeShan found federal workers have mixed opinions about them.
What kind of first day of work was that?
It was incredible.
Rami Gallegos started at the FAA on September 11th.
Having spent 26 years in the federal service, most of it in the military, I always have felt that this is a wonderful profession and a great thing to do.
But 2.5 years without a raise, and now the specter of furloughs has him mulling a big change.
To be honest with you, we may have to sacrifice our house.
What's interesting
Yeah, my contract might be ending.
is that some federal workers and contractors feel what's painful for them may be good for the country.
And you look around and you see a lot of inefficiency everywhere. And honestly, those are our tax dollars.
Congress and the government still has to find a way to live within its means.
Some federal workers are even more plain-spoken online. On a discussion board, See Frustration, a veteran says, could you imagine on a battlefield having 2 platoons of soldiers bickering over what it takes to defeat the enemy and then going home for the weekend?
I just cannot believe that Congress left yesterday without any solution.
Anya Zaleski works for the Voice of America.
How do you explain this to other countries?
Well, it's very difficult to explain.
Latasha Lee worked Hurricane Sandy for FEMA.
Just going to the homes of people and seeing the devastation.
She's been furloughed before and accepts that it may happen again.
But you have to be thankful that you have a job. So if you take a furlough, you still have a job.
And in these troubled times, that is something. Bruce LeShan, WUSA 9.
And right here in battle-scarred Washington, the next battle is already on the calendar. And in about 3 weeks, Congress will have to pass a budget to keep the government running, or we'll be looking at a whole government shutdown. Now, the Education Department's warning that budget cuts will impact 29 million people who've got student loans and millions of students who get grants or work study assignments at thousands of U.S. colleges could also see some uncomfortable changes. Scott Broom's in Annapolis with what it all means for students at the University of Maryland.
Have you heard of this thing called sequester?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Students may not know the word, but sequester got their attention today when they learned that some financial aid is on the chopping block specifically for work-study students.
This is horrible, especially for me.
It's ridiculous.
Measures basically. But the bigger impact is on research.
It is very frustrating.
University System Chancellor Britt Kirwan was in Annapolis today talking budget with legislators.
We do an enormous amount of federal research on our campuses, about $1 billion a year.
Wait a minute, $1 billion with a B?
A B, across all of our institutions. And we're talking about a 10% cut, which means we could lose $100 million of research funds. And those dollars support faculty, they support graduate assistants, so we're talking jobs.
The university is integral to the state.
Today, University of Maryland President Wallace Lowe, in a letter to students and faculty, said 2,300 faculty and staff and 1,500 graduate students may eventually be impacted by the research cuts.
Are you trying to scare us? Well, you know, I'm not trying to scare anybody. I'm just stating facts. We will lose 10% of our research budget. That's a fact. That's $100 million.
As for financial aid, the university system says it will cover shortfalls for this year only. After that, if the sequester sticks, there may be students who have to leave school. In Annapolis, Scott Broom, WUSA 9.
And those budget cuts could also mess with your travel plans, especially if they involve flying. Up at BWI Marshall Airport, just like at other airports all over the country, cutbacks in air traffic controllers and other workers could mean major delays and longer lines in security. Congressmember Elijah Cummings says that could be just the beginning.
It's kind of difficult to live a good life when you come to the airport and you've got delay after delay after delay, and the question becomes, what happens even after this? How slippery is this slope, and how deep will it go?
Maryland Senator Ben Cardin says BWI Marshall will cut up to 10% of its spending, and that's on top of cuts the airport's already had to make. Okay, so should members of Congress face furloughs? Nearly 3,000 of you from all across the nation responded to our online petition, and 97% said absolutely they should. So we sent our Jessica Doyle up to Capitol Hill to deliver the petitions. Congressmember Frank Wolf spoke to us on camera, but he would not address whether he ought to join the federal workers in his district and take a day or two off without pay.